Good morning. Forgive me for being a little hoarse. I did want to share a message, so I decided to go ahead and make a video. It's Tuesday, October 21st, and I wanted to encourage you to jump your fence. What does that mean? I mean, jump your fence, or else your property, your space, will become smaller. It's going to shrink. What's the purpose of a fence? Well, it's either to keep something in or keep something out. And I'll share a little story with you about a fence that was my mother's. Forgive me, Mom. When we were young, she used to, or I should say we used to go on vacation, and we pretty much always took road trips. We drove. And my dad did all the driving. My mom wasn't fond of driving in large cities or in places that she wasn't familiar with. And ironically, you know, we've done a lot of discussion about the bridge, the symbolism of the bridge with VictoryWithAsh, in VictoryWithAsh. And my mom decided to take the wheel to give my dad a break, because he had been driving for a very long time. He was very tired. And I was riding in the passenger seat with her when we approached a very large bridge. And she immediately panicked. And the bridge in her mind was just too much for her to cross. So in that moment of panic, she cut across all the lanes, which was, I don't remember the number, but it was a very large interstate with multi-lanes. She didn't signal, she just cut straight across all the lanes to pull over. So in that fight or flight moment, she allowed fear, forget everything and run. She allowed that to overcome her and made a decision to pull the car over. I mean, she was fully capable of driving across the bridge, but not in her mind. And when I started driving, I remember that I had this sort of a phobia of driving places I wasn't familiar with, driving in large cities, things like that. And I remember some very distinct moments where there was something that I wanted to do that was more important to me than my fear. And I went ahead and, in spite of my fear, I went ahead and I drove in the city. I drove somewhere that I wasn't familiar with, and this was before we had GPS. This was before I had a cell phone. I just had myself and some directions. And I feel like it seems simple, but it was very poignant in my life in changing the trajectory of things that I did later on. The jobs that I had that required me to drive. Because whether you realize it or not, when you give in to your anxieties, you are literally rewiring your brain to believe that those things are a true threat. We actually have these little neurotransmitters and things that are firing and making connections, and your brain is wired to look for threats. When you don't do something because you're afraid of it, you are reinforcing that it is a real threat. So what I would like to ask you is, what is your fence? Name your fence, whatever it is, especially in this journey with VictoryWithAsh. Whether it is putting yourself out there, whether it is making a video, whether it's technology, whatever it is that you feel is a barrier or a cage that you're just too afraid to do. These things are imaginary fences that we've put up in our mind. There's a quote, to the bird that is born in a cage, flying feels like an illness. Sometimes we're comfortable with our barriers that we've created in our mind. Sometimes we protect them. They seem comfortable. You know, the fence can be a comfort zone. One of the most interesting things I've seen was an experiment where they put an ant inside of a drawn, with marker or pen or whatever it was drawn with, circle, and the ants won't cross the circle. They will not step outside of the circle. There's some science behind it as far as the pheromones and it throws off their senses and stuff like that. But metaphorically, or I should say as a visual representation, we put ourselves inside of an invisible fence, and it all starts in our mind. They found that if the ants got too close to or if they drew the circle too close and the ants accidentally stepped over it, that was all it took for them to step out of their comfort zone and they were free. So I want to encourage you to think about, what are those fences that you've built in your mind? What are those cages? Because that's really where our boundaries are. They're all in our mind. Push yourself, prove to yourself that whatever it is that you're afraid of is not real. It's all imagined. It's, you know, I kind of have this visual in my head of someone going to jump over a fence, and the minute they leap, the fence disintegrates because it was really just a hologram. It was never real in the first place. I hope this is encouraging. And as we move into Victory with Ash and we cross the bridge, please don't be like my mother and just let that fear take over. Have a blessed day.